23rd of March 2024 at 11:35 a.m. in Berlin, Germany. Welcome once again to our Cosmic Journey Laser Show edition. Casting our chart in the startup universe. Designer Jake here with engineer Trey as always. Hello, Trey.
Hello, Jake.
How are you?
I'm fine.
It's the musical edition today.
Oh
Yeah.
God. Eventually we will have done so many episodes that we'll have to do a musical episode, like every show
Yeah.
ever.
Just like Buffy. Yeah, I guess Buffy did one. Scrubs did one. Seems to be in vogue. I guess by season 7.
Sunny in Philadelphia did one.
So it's Sunny in Philadelphia did one. I mean, they had a very, very famous one, which was it was the end of series 4. That was oh my gosh, I can't remember. Nightman, nah. Okay, gonna get copyright striked.
Yes. Oh my God, I hadn't thought about that in a while.
The Nightman Cometh. Such a great episode. But enough about this. Isn't our Sunny fan podcast. It's in fact a podcast about us building astrology software, which has quite a following so far. This this cycle is called Ring Dislocation. I don't know. I mean, there's stuff that we did about the ring. There's stuff we did about location. Mostly around life event. I don't know why it's called this. It just is. There's a lot to demo today, so we're going to get to that very quickly. Unless Mr. Henry, is there anything else you want to talk about about the agenda here? You want to talk about before we get into the question?
No, let's do it.
Okay, getting right into it. So, we'll see. I didn't do a whole lot of prep for this question today, so let's just go for it.
Yeah, we'll do it live.
So, you know how some lines that you can make are kind of squared off and they're pointy, and some lines are rounded. You got the kind of rounded caps. Everything in Cosmic is supposed to have kind of a rounded cap to it, and sometimes by default everything's a little bit square. When you are personally emotionally feeling squared off, what's the best technique for you to do in order to round off your emotional caps, Mr. Henry?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, there are some things that I think are that work well for rounding off the caps. The unfortunate thing about them, or that work reliably, I should say, the unfortunate thing about them is that they're not something that you could just do in the moment. They're something that you actually have to have like an ongoing habit of. So for example, for me, working out or like physical exercise is one of the things that will be a good mood regulator. Yeah. Just generally speaking, and also seems to help a lot with executive function for like ADHD. It just is better, right? Like it's just all better when you're regularly working out. But it's not like if you're feeling like your end caps are square that you could just be like, okay, I'm going to work out. I mean, sometimes that does actually work. Like you can't just be like, I'm going to go for a run or I'm just going to work out right now. And it does have like an immediate like prophylactic effect or an immediate rounding effect. But it really only works it really only works well when it's kind of like a consistent thing.
Is there anything that you can do that is a non-prophylactic, that is kind of an immediate action, the Tylenol PM of cap rounding that you can take when things are feeling a little jangly and squared off for you?
It's a tough one because it's very difficult when you are feeling squared off to be in the headspace to get out of that mode, like to take the larger field it's difficult to change the squaring off from the perspective of the line that is being squared. Whereas like as a style applied to the entire thing, it's a little bit easier. So I don't know. Yeah, no, I don't think I do. It's just like once you're like squared off, For me anyway, it's like it just some time needs to pass.
Okay, you just need time to pass, but you could be doing prophylactic things such as working out et al. In
Yeah,
order
working
to.
out, and also like my spiritual practice, my meditation, and my magical sorceress practice is also a really big one,
Yeah.
I think.
How just how are you doing on those things to practice those regularly?
I would say sorceress practice, definitely thumbs up. I would say working out, middling. Yeah, middling.
I guess
Is there
middling.
is there like a, is there like a
No, we could
middling?
do this one, which is
Um,
like that's not middling at all.
Boo.
Yeah,
No. That's really that's no.
that's
It's
very
it's definitely
aggressive.
not that bad. Like I ran. I think what was it last week? I ran, and even
Yeah,
when we were in Wisconsin for the funeral, we went walking every day, and
even
we
though it
like
was
walked Document
butt
miles.
cold to do
Oh yeah, it was
so,
so cold.
but it was good. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, okay. So how about you? What are your techniques?
So the way in which I can round off, I've got two methods that are non-prophylactic, that are immediate effect, apply directly to the head type of like, let's get it going. One is listening to any comedy podcast. Typically, the one I go to is Mabim Bam, which is otherwise known as My Brother, and Me. It usually puts me into a much better mood. The second thing that I can do is I can go outside with some peanuts. We've talked about this before. Take a look at that episode. I remember the animation. I can go outside and I can give peanuts to crows, and it makes me feel immediately better. Especially when like, there's now a whole thing with like, this is where we're going to cut in video, I think, of me like sitting down there trying to throw it to the crows, have them catch in their mouth. They catch them in their mouth only when we're not filming. Maybe we filmed one in the past. I don't know. We'll find out.
It's only
But
happened like 3 or 4 times. It's
yeah.
pretty rare that they
Although the
actually
other
like
day,
catch it in their mouth.
there was a throw, a relatively large throw, and they caught it in the mouth. And Trey saw it, and we were both amazed. It was great.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, that crow was on it.
That crow was on it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that's
Those are both really good. I guess now that you've said that, actually I think one thing that that can help, yeah, is like an immediate distraction. So like playing a video game or something like that. Just like
yeah.
helps to get you out of the context of being jaggedy,
Yeah, jangly. Our
being
squared
squared
off
off.
end caps. Exactly. Speaking of squared off end caps and showing some lines in the chart, do you want to talk a little bit about what you've
Nice
done this
segue.
week?
Yeah, sure. Okay, I'm gonna go over to my. I'm gonna change my screen over.
Sure.
Wow. Okay, nothing new here. This is all still the same, but if we click on a chart, ooh, all kinds of new
Ooh.
stuff. So last time we showed this, we were showing positions, and then we had degree, and then sign of degree, and then minutes. We are now showing the Zodiac.
Very good.
Very exciting. Yes. And we also now are showing, and so we're no longer showing that in the labels here. We are now also showing the angle. So we're looking at whole sign here, and so it's only showing the ascendant, the midheaven, the descendant, and the IC, also known as the angles. And using our nice little glyphs for that. I am cheating a little bit here and only putting 2 angles because the actual degree and minute in the zodiacal sign will be the same. They're opposite each other, right?
Right.
So showing 28 degrees 25 minutes here. Whose chart are we looking at? This is my chart. In
charted this?
Virgo.
Who chart is this?
Who chart? Here's Jake's. I think we talked about this before. I'm not 100% sure, but the horizontal line
Yeah,
being the
we
ascendant.
talked about this last week.
Okay, cool. Yeah. So here, now that we're actually plotting it, you can really see what a difference it makes. So going between like our 2 charts, particularly I think for Jake's chart, it's great because his ascendant is late in Virgo. So 25 degrees, 18 minutes Virgo. And so you can see, even though he has Saturn in the North Node in the first house, there's another thing that's in here too that's not being rendered. They are above the ascendant. So Saturn was actually already risen in the sky. So that's important to know about Jake having Saturn in the first in the whole sign house system.
I still love, by the way, that you did the thing that Austin Coppock was complaining about, which was, why in whole sign houses do you not show the ascendant line as a
horizontal line?
And that's the power of listening. That's the power, that's nice. We listen to people. We could be like, oh, we could do that for you. And so, I mean, there's probably no like professional astrologers yet watching this podcast today. In the future, if they're watching this podcast and they're listening to this episode for some reason, might I give you the request kindly that, like, if there's stuff that you're annoyed with your tooling about, just let us know. Put it in the comments. Just write us, jake@cosmic.plumbing. Like, we would love to hear this stuff because we'll fix it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there are some things where it's like, oh my gosh, that's really the obvious right answer. Why weren't we thinking of that? And like, I think this, like, using the ascendant instead of the first cusp, the cusp of the first house as the where you rotate the chart to, is kind of like an obvious right answer. It doesn't make any sense with whole sign to not do it this way.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think there's other things where it kind of comes more down to preference, and that's okay too, because even when it's preference, or even when it's something that is like, well, I like to see it this way, but that's not necessarily the way that everybody likes to see it. We have the ability through our system called perspectives to provide functionality that is customizable, so that you can see things the way that you want to see them. And we currently have that actually in place right now. I won't demo it, but I can turn off the Zodiac. I can turn off the house system. I can change the house system. And if I like change the house system to a quadrant house system, these angle markers go away. We'll have house cusps eventually for that. So yeah, it's those things are also important, obviously. So we're always interested. But this like showing it rotated to the horizon, I mean, it's just an obvious no-brainer. I don't know why all of astrology software was doing this wrong for so long.
They just did it wrong. Yeah. I don't know why, and they kind of stuck with it.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. I even did it in Urania because that's like how everybody else does it.
Yeah. Because you didn't even think about it, right? Until someone brings it up, you're like, oh, I didn't even think about that. Like, that's crazy. Nice. Well done. Love it.
Love it.
I'm going to talk a little bit about the design work that has been done. And I realize now that, like, not now, but like I've realized recently that it's hard to demo design work using OUX, because what ends up happening is I start demoing stuff that looks like this, and you're like, okay, what is all of this? And here's the thing to get from this, right? What I was doing, what I wanted to do, and I didn't get all the way done, was to do the metadata, the prioritization of the metadata and the core content for this thing, which is called the Astro Conditions Ring. The most important part of the Astro Conditions Ring is this thing that says has one life event that it charts if the ring type is natal. Okay, so you need to have life event all kind of settled up before you do that. And then this is where life event is. Trey has made much fun of this picture here of whatever is happening in this life event up here, which is ridiculous. I can't zoom in on it any more than that, nor do I want to. But, thanks to Dolly for that one. You can see here that it's derived from event base, and so therefore you have to go through event base. And so all events have this common data. This, by the way, has not been viewed by Trey, so Trey might have feedback for us, meaning me, in this,
for the royal us
in this podcast. I mean, I know that you're on my side, viewer, but Trey might disagree with us on whether we have done the right things here. But like, just to say, like, Trey hasn't reviewed all the stuff yet, so it might not make a lot of sense. But you've got these pieces of metadata here as well. Actually, I just realized that this has milestone A as well. This is part of milestone A. And then on each of these things here, you go to what is called a attribute requirements page, which tells you what the phase is, what you saw on the little tab there. Is it required? Are there open questions? I have to ask Trey about this. Who sees it? Where does it show up? And you'll see this, like, it shows up on the 1.1 micro card. Well, what is that? I'll show you that here in a second. So all of that was done, which was great. All of the event base and the life event stuff was done. And then from there, what you have to do in OUX and in just good design is to start sketching this stuff. And we've shown sketches before in other episodes, but this is now the sketching for the life event. And the life event, if you remember, I did not, you'll have to look at the, I believe, last episode. So it's going to be up there. You have to look at the last episode. We had talked a little bit about these ideas of, like, there's these micro cards that have a life event on them. You'll remember that from, like, the wireframes there. So here are the little micro cards. The micro cards could have either a named location, if that location status is active. It could have a lat long if we don't have a named that location. There's reasons why that would happen that are kind of not beyond our control, but like there's good reasons why you might not have a name for a location. And then you get into the mini card. And what you're seeing here is the life event, which is a birth of this native, Jake Sikowski, with this Rodden rating, happened on the 31st of January, 1979 at 8:45 p.m. in Libertyville, Illinois, United States of America. This mini card, then if you put into a grid card, kind of this Jake Sikowski and this Rodden rating kind of busts out a little bit, makes it look a little bit bigger here. This is where we put the native in. And then when you go to the details page for a life event, you would see the date of the life event and the time, location, if applicable. Most of them have locations. The native it's associated with, the type of event it is, a preview. This is called the ring grid card. This is a preview of the chart for that life event. You can cast that yourself, so you can have it yourself. And then one day in the future, if people have interpretations of this life event on their account and they've shared those things, you could see their casts of this life event with the interpretations here. And so you could go and, like, explore those things. And then if the life event's got problems with it or whatever, a member could flag it for additional review. I didn't finish the last part, which is filtering and sorting and stuff like that. But you know what? That's where we're at. Mr. Henry, any thoughts and feelings about this that you wanted to go through?
Where does this detail page live?
I don't know yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So my idea around this detail page here is that if you are, let me go back for a second. If you are looking at a bunch of these life events that are on a native, you might be, I don't know yet, but you might be able to click or tap on these life events on the native page in order to see more details about that life event. That's the idea, but until everything is all connected, it's hard to figure out whether that actually makes sense or not.
What isn't the where do the, like, ascendant sun moon
the
fields
list,
show up?
the list of things. Yeah.
Well, so for each like birth life event, right? The ascendant sun moon should be shown, right?
Yeah. Yes, it's not going to show. So this is a life event, right? It will probably show up on the grid card. It's not here right now because I didn't put it in, but like it probably will be here. It can't fit here. It can't fit on the mini card. And so
And then the mini card would be the thing that we show. Like, where does the mini card show?
the mini card is probably embedded into the ring. So let me just open Figma because you might. I made mention of it here. So if you remember, if you have this life event birth thing here that shows this is the ring card here. This is the card. Here, actually, I can just do it like this. Let's go, oops, to Figma. This is probably what it would look like, something like this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, kind of. It's a bit abstract. I'm trying to picture like what
Yes.
what this would mean, but
Yeah, it's a bit abstract right now. That's the problem with all of this.
Yeah.
But like, yeah,
but it's progress. It's progress.
Yeah.
We're heading in the right direction.
The conceit here, the big idea is that you have to kind of figure out all the connections of the things before you start wiring them up. Because if you start wiring them up too quickly, you might start running into making pretty bad assumptions about all of these things. But
Yeah,
you know
which is what most of the software in the world does.
Yeah, exactly.
Not just astrology software.
No, for sure. I have worked many a place where we, despite our best efforts, were trying to make great software and could not because we didn't think through all of the connections of things. And that's the whole point of why you have OUX. Yeah, so that's where we're at with Life Event. I realize that's very high level, very abstract, especially if you're not in the day-to-day idea, like thinking about this stuff. But, you know, as far as I can tell, this podcast is mostly for us. for future us. And then if other
I think we
it,
basically just started working there for a minute.
Yeah, exactly.
Like that was actually like legit live working.
That was legit live working.
It's like I completely forgot that we were doing a podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Like why not live stream basically our working?
It's who does that? Who does their meetings?
That.
What was it?
GitHub.
Gitlab.
Thank you. Gitlab does that.
Yeah. Gitlab just like live streams meetings.
Yeah, good for them, you know.
Yeah, I love that.
One last thing to show today that I think is pretty exciting is actually, let me show it down here because it's relatively smaller. We're doing it live, everyone. So we're going to do this.
What are you doing?
I'm going to show our issue tracker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So I just have to find, obviously I've not prepared any of this. So there we go. So, you can't see our faces in this view, but that's probably okay. This is our issue tracker. You might be wondering, why do we have a new issue tracker? Well, it's because we're cheap. So,
cheap in a weird way because we spent probably more of our time in hours, or in money for hours.
Maybe, I don't know. This issue tracker took relatively little amount of time to create. So what happened here? We ran into the limit of
Linear's free tier.
And then we had to have a discussion.
Which is totally fine. Like Linear has a very, very
generous
a very generous free tier, and it is an amazing piece of software. Once Cosmic is making money, we will probably move back to it, assuming that we don't have too much data heaviness in Airtable.
But we weren't using but like when you pay for Linear to get more records, which is totally fine, there's a bunch of other stuff that we weren't using or we weren't expecting to use anytime soon, and we were thinking to ourselves like, well, we're not making money, and like, do we need this level of heaviness? And so the answer was no. And so I spent half a day doing the full OUX treatment on our issue tracker. And so what I did was I thought of the objects we have that are in issue tracking, which is there's an issue. We have this idea of a tag, cycles, comments, did a system model, very, very rough, of like issues can be related to themselves. They can have 0 to many tags. It has to have 1 cycle. It's actually 0 to 1 cycles. And can have 0 to n comments. And then you do this thing that's called a NOM, or a nested object matrix. Basically, the idea here is an issue has issues. So an issue has 0 to n issues of which it relates to. It also has 0 to n. An issue has 0 to 1 issues that it duplicates. So in case that you've got a duplicate kind of thing. But like, you kind of go through this process and you think about like how these things are related. A cycle has 0 to n issues, and you kind of, where there's no relationship, you say there's no relationship. There's a roles, there's a very easy CTA matrix, and then here's the object map. So this is that thing that I just showed you for life event. This is just a much easier version of it. So an issue has these pieces of core content, these pieces of metadata. These are how the related objects comes in, blah, 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 blah. And so you do all of this stuff. And then what you can do from there is not maximize the window. There it is. To create an issue tracker. And so this has issues. You probably can't see this very well.
Yeah. Exactly. Oh, there you go. There you go.
So there's issues. There are cycles. Issues, like you saw, issues belong to cycles, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And then we have each of these views to help us out. So this is what our current cycle looks like right now. I didn't finish this. Trey is, I think you might be done with this. Are you done with this card?
Yeah, I think this one is done for now. I need to update this ticket because it actually, this one really just became showing the angles for whole sign. And then I think house cusps for the other one is going to be a separate ticket.
Okay. So great. I mean, and that kind of happened in mine as well. So like I had to kind of change this one to make a little bit more sense. But you can see in here, it's got a cycle, it's completed. It's got a pull request. By the way, this pull request for the documentation was was it this one? No.
Oh no, it's not this one. Yeah,
it's not this one. It's
that other one had like 600 editions or something.
Yeah, where is it? Design location object. Oh, it's this one. Life event. Yeah, this pull request. You can't. This little number up in the upper right hand corner here. 358 additions, 121 deletions. Basically, this is just like me cleaning up a shed load of documentation here, which was nutty. Anyways, we've got the cycle planning view. So we can say, okay, this is the current cycle. Here's the next cycle. We can move these things. These don't have cycles assigned to them. You can just kind of pull this up into here. Works great. And it's free until we run into the limit of this one, which would be 1,000 records on this one.
Yeah. I also like that we can do these kind of like roll up values and stuff like that. Like you have the total points are showing here.
Yeah, right here.
Which is actually a roll up of the items within the cycle. And it gives you kind of like this calculated field type that allows you to do this, which is nice.
So we did.
If you go over to cycles, the cycles view, the tab.
Yeah.
And then you go to grid view.
I'm sorry. Go to where?
Go to grid view.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you scroll over, like I added. Oh yeah. So there's count. Yeah. Total points and then issue count also.
Well, here.
So we can calculate our velocity.
I can put total points on here. Boop, boop. There. You can see the total points per cycle now.
Yeah. Nice.
Do you want the issue count as well?
Yeah. Issue count's nice too. Yep.
Look at how easy Airtable is. Everyone hates it. I mean, I don't think they hate on Airtable, but like Airtable.
Yeah, we mentioned this. Yeah. We mentioned this before. It's like everybody moved to Notion.
Like what happened with Airtable?
And I think there was this idea that like Notion, that Airtable circle in the Venn diagram fits entirely within Notion, and that's not true. That's that's not what it is. they both have different sort of things that they're trying to accomplish. And I will say that Notion feels a little bit like taking an Office suite and putting it in a blender. And it's like, it doesn't do any of those things particularly well. This is just my hot take on Notion. I'm not a big fan. But Airtable is basically the sort of advanced, or not advanced, but like the more modern version of like Microsoft Access, for example, or something like that, where it's just like, it's very easy to create databases and to create relations, and it's quite nice.
It's so weird, and I think that all companies get to this point. Just a side question here. Like, Access had a place in society, right? People were like, companies were saying, I like Access because it is a easy to use database in order for me to do some things. Some people liked Access because of those things. I used to work on Microsoft Works back in the day that had famously its own database, which was crazy. And so there's things here, and like this idea that like these needs didn't go away, but for some reason like Microsoft just moved away from this stuff, and then all of these competitors came in and they're like, okay, well I'll make these things, and like you had them, you had all of these things, and you just kind of let it go. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I think Access is still part of the Office suite. There's still a team working on it, but it just didn't really get updated, and
but it's not
didn't get a lot of love.
Yeah. Anyways.
Yeah.
Funny how those things work. Anything else about our issue tracking before we wrap up here?
You know what the viewer loves?
What
issue tracking.
The viewer loves issue tracking, and they love the OUX behind issue tracking. This is what the viewer comes. This is the good content.
Why does the attribute discovery label, the giant label on the left-hand side, why is it ketchup and mustard?
Because it's core content and it's metadata.
Oh.
I didn't choose these colors. Sophia chose these colors.
But I'm hungry now. I want hot dogs.
We're probably not going to get hot dogs. We might get something different here.
I want Kettlevest.
Kettlevest? Kettfest is a very East German thing. If you have never looked up Kettfest before, look at this documentary that I just found for you.
It definitely exists.
In the meantime, have yourself a lovely Saturday or whatever day you're watching this. I want you today to go stretch out a muscle that is really tense for you.
It's really tight.
It's really tight.
Yeah.
Get those
like
hammies.
Maybe your back, maybe your hamstrings.
Sometimes you think your back is tight, but it's not your back, it's your hamstrings. Maybe it's your shoulders. But like get a tennis ball in there. Just really
Maybe you're a little bit your end caps are a little bit squared off because you're not stretching.
Look at you doing the Jake level callbacks. I love it. You're on fire today. Be well. We love you all, and have yourself a lovely Saturday or whatever day you watch this. Bye.
Bye.